didn't think of it as all that risky. I mean, I was so excited about what we were doing. It's true I could have gone bankrupt, but you know, I had a set of skills that were highly employable, and in fact, my parents were still willing to let me go back to Harvard and finish my education if I wanted to.
You've always got a job with me, Bill.
And the thing that was scary to me wasn't quitting and starting the company. It was when I started hiring my friends and they expected to be paid. And then we had customers who went bankrupt, customers that I'd counted on to come through. And so then I got this incredibly conservative approach that I wanted to have enough money in the bank to pay a year's worth of payroll, even if we didn't get any payments coming in. And you know, I'm almost true to that the whole time. We have about $10 billion now, which is pretty much enough for the next year. Anyway, you know, if you're going to start a company, it takes so much energy that you know it better overcome your feeling of risk. I don't think that you necessarily, if you're going to start a company, should do it at the start of your career. I think there's a lot to be said for working for a company, learning how they do things. You know, if you're young, it's hard to go lease premises. They made that hard for me. You couldn't rent a car when you were under 25 at the time, so I was always taking taxis to go see customers. The people would, you know, people say, well, we're going to go have a discussion in the bar. Well, I couldn't go to the bar. But you know, that's fun, because I'll tell you, when people are first skeptical and they go, this kid doesn't know anything, then when you show them you've really got a good product and you know something, they actually tend to go overboard and they think, whoa, you know, they know a lot. Let's really do an incredible amount with these people. So our youth, at least in this country, was a huge asset for us once we reached a certain threshold. It is hard. It's hard to hire older people because they'll be a little bit conservative about whether they should come and take the risk. And it took 3 or 4 years before we could go out into the normal sort of employment pool. But those problems that come with starting a firm, you better think of those as part of the pleasure, part of the challenge that is part of the excitement. So my calendar gets very full with those, and then at night, after the kids have gone to bed, I'm on email a great deal. I get messages during the day. That's my chance to give long responses. And then over the weekend, I send a lot of mail as well. I take 2 weeks a year to just go off and read and think, where I'm not interrupted by work or anything else. I'm just solidly trying to think about the future, and people get to send me things to read as part of that so-called Think Week. So it's a nice mix of things. About 25% of the time that I'm out traveling around, meeting with customers, Europe, Asia, and that sort of helps me think, okay, do we have the right priorities? What are people responding well to, and what would they like to see us do better? I'm Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft. In this video, you're going to see the future, Windows. Microsoft first came up with the Windows concept back in 1983. And today, the leading software users have switched into the Windows environment. It's really incredible how quickly our powerful applications like Word and Excel and PowerPoint have been adopted. It's not just Microsoft applications. Even companies like WordPerfect and Lotus have now come out with Windows applications. And every week we see new innovative work. It's really attracting all the innovation in the industry. We predicted this a long time ago, and now it's the future. I talked to my dad, I talked to Warren, I talked to my wife Melinda. So I have enough people that know me and actually know where my judgment isn't its strongest, where I might get overexcited about something or, you know, forget to think about something. And so they're good at correcting, particularly Melinda, good at correcting whatever those blind spots are. And I think it's good to encourage your friends and advisors to really give them that license. You know, I can go to a party and forget to say hello to various people or something. That's a very minor example of my blind spots.
Not to the hostess.
Melinda would help me do that.
Yeah, she would, yeah.
So, you know, a small number of people that you can turn to on certain key things is a great asset. You've got to enjoy what you do every day. And for me, that's working with very smart people. It's working on new problems. You know, every time we think, hey, we've had a little bit of success, we're pretty careful not to dwell on it too much because the bar gets raised. You find an idea that requires 3 or 4 years of improvement and patience and really sticking with it, that we're very good at that. Take Windows, which we bet our company on. Everybody doubted that would succeed. IBM did not support us in that. It took longer than we expected, over 4 years before finally graphical interface got popular, and now people take it for granted. It's part of every personal computer, and you just expect it to be there. That was one of the grand successes of the company. In the same way, we're betting on the internet, that our tools there will be popular, and that a few of these content plays that we've decided to get involved in, that the scale and the users will make those into great business.
Are you happy? And what makes you happiest?
Well, I'm very happy. I'm lucky that I get to work on exactly the things I want to. I get to work with brilliant people on interesting problems like malaria, tuberculosis, and you know, I'm always learning. I'm always seeing the progress that we're making. That's why I love to come to India, because there always is so much progress. I've got a great family, kids who are growing up very well. I'm, you know, healthy. The tools I can use to be curious, the people I can meet, you know, I can't imagine changing places with anyone. My best business decisions really have to do with picking people. You know, deciding to go into partnership with Paul Allen is probably at the top of the list. And then subsequently hiring a friend, Steve Ballmer. And having somebody who you totally trust, who's totally committed, who shares your vision and yet has a little bit different set of skills, and also acts as a check on you. You know, some of the ideas you come up with, you run by them because you know they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, have you thought about this and that? And just, you know, the benefit of sparking off of somebody who's got that kind of brilliance, it's not only made it fun, but it's really led to a lot of the success. So picking a partner is crucial. The thing that really drives me is building software products that can help people out. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years. That's what I'll be doing the rest of my life. Well, it's a very competitive business. And
that's all?
Oh, no, absolutely. When you have the level of success that we've had, when you have a business that's important as this with this many competitors, you're going to have people saying some nasty things. And so you have to learn a little bit not to take it too personally. You can't just keep doing the same old thing you were doing before. You have to take your skills and attack the new frontiers. For example, graphical interface used to be outside the operating system. And so there were many people doing those systems. Windows came out ahead there, and now it comes with the operating system. Likewise, the browser is something that Netscape looked at turning the browser into an operating system, and we looked at taking our operating system and building the browser in an integrated fashion. Well, certainly every product we do is absolutely as capable as it can possibly be. You know, there's no holding back. The people at Microsoft come into work every day building the best products they can, and they're very proud. You know, you go into schools and see how kids are using this stuff. Go and ask people about how their jobs have changed because of the personal computer. You know, we're sitting there listening to our customers saying how they'd like to make things better. So we do absolutely our best job, and in fact, that's why we've been successful. You know, anybody who holds back in this business isn't going to be around for long, because this is a business where you always have to be moving at a very rapid pace.
To Harvard and you dropped out. Have you ever thought how your life could be better off if you had gotten your Harvard degree?
Well, I'm a weird dropout because I take college courses all the time. I love learning company courses and things, so I love being a student. And there were smart people around, and you know, they fed you, and they gave you these nice grades that made you feel smart. So I feel it was unfortunate that I didn't get to stay there, but I don't think I missed any knowledge because, you know, whatever I needed to learn, I was still in a learning mode. We've competed against various forms of Unix over the years, and Linux is growing in popularity and definitely a competitor.
How threatening a competitor?
Well, it's a competitor we take very seriously. I think, you know, part of Microsoft's success is that we don't underestimate the importance of the work that other companies are doing. And so we look out, we think, are there aspects of that are best practices? For example, online support, some of the community things that are done around Linux are done very well. So, you know, we're thinking about it, making sure that our innovation will make sure that our value and our leadership stays in front. First I met Warren, we were talking about getting together and doing something again, and he pulled out his calendar, and the pages were so blank. And I said, wow, you know, you've managed to avoid getting tied into a lot of kind of meaningless activity. And, you know, Warren said, yeah, you have to be good at saying no and picking the things that really make a difference. And that's one of many things I've learned from Warren, but that's one of my favorites. And so I can blame it on him whenever I'm turning things down.
You have made a significant contribution in the fight against AIDS in Africa. You have funded, to a large degree, vaccines and vaccine research. Give me a sense of where that's directed and what success you think we're making and your own particular interest in public health in the world.
Well, this is a real passion for me, so I'll give a succinct answer. People, I think, don't have a full awareness how 4 billion of the 6 billion people on this planet don't have basic health needs met. The death rate of infants, the epidemic infectious diseases that are just a way of life in most of the world don't exist in the developed world. And yet the research isn't going on for the medicines that would get rid of these diseases. Even diseases like tuberculosis, where for a few $100s lives can be saved, that's not being done. Vaccines aren't being moved from the rich world to the poor world. AIDS is the most extreme, where the prevention measures that could prevent this from becoming a huge epidemic in countries like India, Nigeria, and many countries where it's not in huge percentages
Hasn't
today.
reached the proportions of Africa.
You know, the right things, I think, are not being prioritized. So the foundation that my wife and I have taken as its top priority these world health issues, the research, getting the vaccines out. And you know, it's been fascinating to learn about this and to try and say that all these lives, the lives all over the world, should be treated with the same value that we treat lives here in the rich world.
So just to sum up, in a sense, I mean, what you have learned from your own involvement, from funding it in terms of more money than had ever been applied, is that it can make a difference.
Absolutely. Millions of lives can be and should be saved through these efforts. And you know, we can make a difference, and we can encourage others to get involved.
That was my last question. Is that happening as you fund these efforts? Is it becoming a kind of wedge that other governments and other foundations and other sources are following suit or matching?
Yeah, we've seen a good start, I would say. The vaccine fund we put together, we put in $750 million now. Governments have agreed to put up $500 million in addition to that. In the AIDS area, some of the things we've backed have been able to attract additional money. Having said that, this is a cause that somehow deserves more visibility, because when you talk to people about this and they hear about malaria or AIDS, they really do care and they think their government's doing more. And so, you know, when I'm not working, a lot of my creativity is going into what could be done to show people that their money would be well spent, it would make a difference, and, you know, try and make sure that World Health gets more priority.
Then you can save lives.
If you ask people across the United States, is the future going to be better than the past? Most say no. My kids will be worse off than I am. They think innovation won't make the world better for them or their children. So who's right? The people who say innovation will create new possibilities and make the world better? Or the people who see a trend toward inequality and a decline in opportunity and don't think innovation will change that? The pessimists are wrong, in my view, but they're not crazy. If innovation is purely market-driven and we don't focus on the big inequities, then we could have amazing advances and inventions that leave the world even more divided. We won't improve public schools. We won't cure malaria. We won't end poverty. We won't develop the innovations poor farmers need to grow food in a changing climate. If our optimism doesn't address the problems that affect so many of our fellow human beings, then our optimism needs more empathy. If empathy channels our optimism, we will see the poverty and the disease and the poor schools. We will answer with our innovations, and we will surprise the pessimists. Over the next generation, you Stanford graduates will lead a new wave of innovation. Which problems will you decide to solve? If your world is wide, you can create the future we all want. If your world is narrow, you may create the future the pessimists fear. I started learning in Soweto that if we're going to make our optimism matter to everyone and empower people everywhere, we have to see the lives of those most in need. If we have optimism without empathy, then it doesn't matter how much we master the secrets of science. We're not really solving problems, we're just working on puzzles. I think most of you have a broader worldview than I had at your age. You can do better at this than I did. If you put your hearts and minds to it, you can surprise the pessimists. We're eager to see it. I had one habit that I developed when I was at college that was actually a very bad habit, which was I like to show people that I didn't do any work and that I didn't go to classes and I didn't care. And then at the very last minute, like 2 days before the test, I'd get serious about it. And people thought that was funny. You know, that was my positioning, the guy who did nothing until the last minute. Then when I went into business, that was a really bad habit. And it took me a couple of years to get over that. Nobody praised me because I would do things at the last minute, and I tried to reverse to students I didn't think that highly of, who were always organized and had things done on time. I'm still working on it, but procrastination is not a good habit.